Today I'm going to have a look at 4 of the best wireless noise cancelling headphones you can get for under $100. So if you want to see how the different offerings from Sony, Soundcore, One More and Edifier stack up against each other in this price range, then stick with me after the intro. Hi everyone, my name is Andy and you're watching Andy's Tech Tone. So I've got the One More SonoFlow, the Edifier W820NB, the Sony WH-CH720N and the most recently announced Soundcore Space One to compare. And let me quickly add that depending on where you live and when you watch this video, prices and availability of some models might vary, but as of making this video, I found all of these headphones for just under $100 or euros. But what is it you get exactly for your money? Well, we have to start somewhere, so let's see the design, but first of all, the weight of the headphones. As you can see, the Sony CH720 is the most lightweight of them all, with the Soundcore being the heaviest. And that's despite all the efforts Soundcore have put into making the Space One as lightweight as possible, which in this case means an all-plastic design. Not that it has any negative impact on build quality, because the Space One is all very solid and well put together, but for example the Sony and the One More both have a metal headband, while the Soundcore is again all plastic. And so is the Edifier, and as such, the W820NB headphones produce most of those cracking and creaking noises when we twist the headband, so these are my least favorite when it comes to build quality. And also the Edifier cans are the least eye-catching in my opinion. Next up are the Sony 720s, because they managed to keep the weight down while keeping the construction solid, plus there is some metal used in the frame as well. The Soundcore Space One is a notch ahead of the Sony though when it comes to overall build quality, and it probably has the most fresh looking character of them all. But my personal top choice is the One More SonoFlow with its sleek minimalistic design and its excellent build quality. As for their comfort, Sony takes the win thanks to its low weight, its well-padded and spacious ear cups, and the good cushioning on the headband. The One More is heavier, but it compensates for its extra weight with more cushioning on both the ear cups and on the headband. Also, there is slightly more room inside the cups for my ears. The Soundcore offers even wider, more rounded and less oval-shaped ear cups, but the padding here is a touch more firm and it's thinner too than on either the Sony or on the One More. However, the soft padding on the headband somewhat makes up for it. The Edifier offers padding on its ear cups very similar to that of the Sony, but the cups are a touch narrower inside. The headband padding is also very Sony-like, and it's the W820NB which has the most snug feel overall, both in terms of the ear cups and the clamping force of the headband. While the other 3 feel similarly secure, let loose enough on my head, the W820NB sticks to my ears like it's glued there, which on one hand is reassuring, but on the other hand it might get a bit too much after using the headphones for an hour or two. The Sony comes second as far as clamping force is concerned, but again it balances it very well with its low weight and first-class padding. Third is the SonoFlow in the clamping force rankings, and the Space One feels the most loose on my head. All headbands offer a good range of adjustability, but it's the Edifier which sits at the bottom being the most tight, while Soundcore offers you the most flexibility in terms of sizing. The Soundcore ear cups can also be folded in, and that's how they fit into the soft carry pouch you get with the headphones in the box. The SonoFlow can also be folded in, and the One More headphones are the only ones in this test that come with a premium quality hard carry case with storage for your cables. The Sony and the Edifier can only fold flat, and we neither get a soft nor a hard case with these two. So if I had to sum it up, the Sony WH-CH720 is the most comfortable, but the One More SonoFlow gives you better portability while being almost as comfy as the Sony. The Edifier is the most snug-fitting, with the Soundcore being the most loose-fitting on my larger than average head. Next up is connectivity. In terms of hardware, the Space One sports a Bluetooth version 5.3 chip, the Sony comes with version 5.2, while both the One More and the Edifier can offer a 5.0 compliant solution. In itself, it doesn't mean much, as regardless of what version of Bluetooth a chip might use, it can offer a similar set of features. Let's see the audio codecs, for example. All of the headphones are compatible with ANC and SBC, but One More and Soundcore gave us LDAC2 as a higher quality option. Or there is multi-point use, aka multi-device connection. All headphones support that feature except for the Edifier W820. The main difference between the two LDAC-capable headphones, the One More and the Soundcore, is that while the SonoFlow allows you to use the LDAC codec and multipoint at the same time, the Space One disables the LDAC codec when multipoint is in use. The Sony 720 does not support LDAC, so the engineers did not have to make that call, and Edifier lacks both multipoint and LDAC, so there is nothing to see there. However, if you like the Edifier cans and you need that extra bit of resolution the LDAC codec might have to offer, you can opt for the newer and more expensive W820 Plus instead of the W820, and if you want both LDAC and multipoint, you will have to step up in price even further and get their top-of-the-line W950NB. And speaking of higher-end options, I find it intriguing that Sony had left out their very own LDAC codec from the CH720 just to protect their more premium offerings such as the WH-1000XM5 or XM4. But back to the wireless connection of these four in general, I didn't find any quirks and I did not experience any dropped signals during my tests with any of the headphones. Watching videos is free of lip-sync issues, but the Edifier is the only one to offer a low latency game mode. Not that I noticed that much of a difference myself, but depending on your use case, it might be something of importance, as all the other three headphones can deliver a latency of around 200 milliseconds or above, while the W820NB can get below that 200 mark with the game mode activated. Onto wired connection, all headphones have the option to be used in passive mode, with the exception of the Edifier, as the W820NB is the only one without a headphone jack. One thing to keep in mind is that the SonoFlow comes with a 2.5mm audio jack instead of the usual 3.5mm option, which both the Sony and the Soundcore have on board. All three headphones with the headphone jack come with a compatible audio cable in the box, all of which are of the same length. And let's not forget the similarly sized USB Type-C cable we get with Edifier. Not only because this is the only USB cable out of the four that has an actual usable length, but the W820NB are also the only headphones that can be used in active mode while connected to a computer through this USB cable. Active mode means that you can keep using the ANC while the headphones are plugged into your laptop, for example, a trick that none of the other three can pull off. Well, the Soundcore can be used in a kind of active mode with the jack audio connector as well, but the sound quality of the Space One is rather mediocre in that scenario, so I wouldn't really call it a viable option. And talking about cables takes us to charging. All four headphones have a USB Type-C port, which can be used to recharge the batteries on board. Now, here is a battery life and charging data comparison. What stands out is the 70 hours of maximum playtime of the SonoFlow, which makes the One More cans the absolute best, and there is also the 5 minutes of quick charging that can give the headphones enough juice for another 5 hours of use, which is again puts the SonoFlow on the top of the podium. The Soundcore Space One is a close second in terms of battery life and quick charging, while Sony is third. Edifier ends up in last place in this comparison thanks to not only its slightly worse battery life, but also due to the lack of quick charging. But again, the more expensive 820NB Plus can offer a quick charge feature if that's something you cannot live without.
Now let me give you a few audio samples from the built-in microphones on each headphones, starting with the Edifier W820. So this is the audio quality you can expect from these headphones in a quiet room. Next up is the One More SonoFlow. So this is the audio quality you can get from the 5 microphone array on these headphones when you make a phone call in a quiet environment, such as an office or a home office. Moving on to the Sony WH-CH720 and its built-in microphones, this is the audio quality you get during a phone call in quiet conditions. Next is an audio sample from the 3 mic array on the Soundcore Space One. Conditions are the same as before. I'm still sitting in a quiet room, so this is the phone call quality you can get from these headphones. Now let's step outside for a minute to see how the headphones and their built-in microphones can handle some more adverse conditions, such as traffic noise or wind. So this is the audio sample from the 3-mic array on the Soundcore Space One. And to the one more SonoFlow, this is how the 5-mic array and the AI-powered algorithm can handle some traffic noise and wind when making a phone call. Next up, here's an audio sample from the microphones on the Edifier W820NB. So this is the phone call quality you can get from these headphones outside with some traffic in the background. And last but not least, this is the audio quality you can expect from the built-in microphones on the Sony WH-CH720 when you happen to make a phone call while you are out and about.
And after listening to all these samples, I found the mics on the Soundcore to be the fullest and warmest sounding of them all, with well-dampened background noises. A bit more of those surrounding noises filtered through the mics on the SonoFlow, and my voice is a touch less warm too, but it does not hurt intelligibility one bit. The Sony sound has more of a grainy and digital character to it, and these mics allow the most environmental noise to get through. And last, while the Edifier mics are the loudest, the sound is distorted and a touch over-amplified, but the noise cancelling does a great job at keeping the traffic noise at bay. Next, let's talk about the controls. All headphones in this test have several physical buttons. The Edifier and the one more have all their controls on the right-hand side, while the Soundcore and the Sony have buttons on both ear cups. All four has volume rockers, an on-off switch, a separate ambient mode button, and of course you can control tracks and play pause as well on each. In general, I found the control layout to be the most logical and comfortable to use on the Sony WH-CH720 with large, easy-to-reach buttons. The location of the on-off switch is best here, separated from the others on the back of the left ear cup. As a bonus, you can get a quick battery status update by pressing it once too. The multifunctional button controls all your media functions, and below it you can find the customizable ambient mode button. The Edifier also has a simple layout with easy-to-locate buttons, all on the right ear cup. One multifunctional button with the media controls, and an on-off switch, plus an ambient mode button below it, which doubles up as a pairing button, and you can also use it to activate the low-latency game mode. The Soundcore has two buttons on each side. On the right ear cup there is a volume rocker and a play pause button, while on the left you can find the ambient mode button and the on-off switch. The buttons work okay, but they could be a touch bigger for better comfort and ease of use. But Soundcore is the only one to give you two custom options for its ambient mode button, and with a double press you can activate the bass up feature too, which boosts the bottom octaves as long as it's enabled in the app. And while the actual buttons on the Space One are not the easiest to use, we get some extra options to control some features on the headphones. For one, there are the wearing detection sensors which will pause media playback automatically when the headphones are removed from your head. No other headphones can do that in this group. Plus we get Easy Chat, which pulls down volume and turns on hear-through mode when you either touch and hold the left ear cup or when you start talking, depending on your settings. It's a unique offering in this price range too. And onto the one more SonoFlow, the controls here are my least favorite for two reasons. First, the on-off switch/play pause button is located on the front of the right ear cup, and that's not the best location for a button like that in my opinion. You can get used to it, but it takes time. And second, on all four headphones the volume rockers double up as track controls, and the same applies to the SonoFlow as well. But while on all the others volume up also means track forward, one more decided to follow a different logic here and switched it up. So the plus button skips a track back and the minus button skips a track forward. It's again something you can get used to, but if you think about it, it doesn't make much sense. Onto the smartphone apps, let's start with the Edifier, which can only offer some basic features, such as the different ANC modes with a slider for the intensity of the ambient sound, soothing sounds for those ASMR aficionados, and the low latency game mode switch for the gaming enthusiasts. We get no EQing options, as for that again, you will need the W820NB+. On to one more, they seem to share Edifier's passion with ASMR, so their app also offers some soothing sounds. But the sound samples keep jumping and repeating themselves in 10-second loops, which is anything but relaxing. Other than that, there is an LDAC switch, a multi-point switch, 3 different ANC modes with no fine-tuning options, firmware upgrades, a quick user guide, and we also get some EQ presets and a 10-band manual equalizer. The Sony Headphones app has a few advanced features, such as the adaptive sound control, where you can set up different scenarios with different EQ modes and ambient mode settings, and the headphones can switch to those predefined profiles based on your location or on your activity. The EQ settings consist of some presets and a 5-band manual equalizer, plus you can use Sony's own 360 reality audio format as long as you are subscribed to a compatible streaming service, such as Tidal. In the app you can also find a multi-point switch, the noise cancelling button settings, an auto power-off timer, software updates plus the DSEE upscaler. And while that's quite a comprehensive set of features, the Soundcore app can do even better. First of all, there is safe volume, which allows you to set up certain parameters and limit your exposure to high volumes in order to protect your hearing. And while Soundcore is the only one to offer you this feature, I believe that it should be mandatory in all apps. Speaking of unique features, there are the smart sensors which can be enabled or disabled in the app, and Easy Chat which can also be set up in the app. Sony, similarly to LDAC, does not let most of its premium features such as speak-to-chat and smart sensors to trickle down to its more affordable offerings, so it's nice to see Soundcore thinking differently about all that. And Hear ID is yet another feature which can be found in almost all Soundcore products across all price ranges, so of course we get it here too. Hear ID runs some hearing tests and then tailors the sound of the headphones accordingly to the results of those tests. And that, combined with all the other EQ options in the app, such as the bunch of presets and the 8-band manual equalizer, can give you almost limitless possibilities in terms of tweaking the sound of the Space One. And other than all these unique features, the Soundcore app also offers you the usual firmware upgrades, the different ambient mode settings, and an auto on-off timer. Both Sony and Soundcore support Google Fast Pair, and therefore we get some integrated features with Android, such as Find Device, but all 4 smartphone apps are available on both iOS and Android. And depending on your needs, the ranking of the apps can vary, but I find Soundcore's solution to be the most appealing. Sony can offer some advantages with its adaptive sound controls or the 360 audio support, so if any of these sound essential to you, the CH720 must be your pick. Neither the One More nor the Edifier app can come even close to the other two, but at least Edifier added a game mode switch to their app, which is missing from all the others, so that's something you might want to consider too. Next up is active noise cancellation, and it's the Soundcore headphones that can dampen mid to high frequencies the best, followed by the Edifier. The One More and the Sony share the bottom step of the podium, but while the SonoFlow can drown out the mid-range more efficiently, Sony can handle the higher frequencies better. Out of the bunch, the CH720 finishes last when it comes to blocking out low-pitch hums and rumbles, with One More being a step ahead, while I would call it a tie between the Space One and the W820 at the top. In transparency mode, the SonoFlow sounds a touch muffled, the Edifier and the Soundcore both have a bit of a thin character, while the CH720 has the most natural sound. The Space One produces the least amount of hiss, followed by the Sony and the Edifier, and the One More headphones have the most noticeable hiss in transparency mode. And it's only the One More app where we don't get any settings or options to change the strength of the hear-through mode. Edifier gives us a slider that scales from +3 to -3, Soundcore has a 1 to 5 slider plus a dedicated wind noise reduction mode, and Sony wins here with its 1 to 20 slider and the voice mode, which boosts mid-frequencies. But while that improves the intelligibility of human voices when it comes to having a quick conversation with someone without taking off the headphones, Soundcore is the most suitable option thanks to its Easy Chat feature. As for handling wind noise, the only headphones to support a wind noise reduction mode is the Space One, and that can help with taming those sharp, annoying noises the microphones can pick up in windy conditions by default. The Edifier produces similarly ear-piercing noises, while the wind sounds a bit more whooshy and muffled on both the Sony and the One More. And again, none of these three offers a dedicated wind noise reduction mode, but the Space One. All in all, it's Soundcore that can offer you the best and most effective ANC feature overall, followed by Edifier and Sony head-to-head, with One More being the least powerful in this department. In terms of sound quality, we get a warm and smooth yet detailed sound with a powerful enough bass, a rich and forward mid-range, and a slightly tamed treble from the One More SonoFlow. As a result, the sound is not the most open or the most sparkling, but we get a decently wide soundstage along with a precise imaging. Bass has a good punch, but it's not overdone, which gives room for the mid-range to be fully articulated and present. There is a great level of clarity across the whole frequency range, especially when the LDAC codec is in use, but we might have to give up some of the finest higher-end detail when switching to AAC. One more thing to be aware of is that the active noise cancelling has a rather significant effect on the sound of the headphones. Turning on the ANC elevates the bass response, taking away some of the clarity in the lower mid-range. When we switch to transparency mode, quite the opposite happens as we lose some of that bottom-end energy. The other three headphones have a much less noticeable change in their sound signature, if anything at all, when jumping between the different ambient modes. Onto the Soundcore Space One, the lowest octaves have a hefty kick and that high octane energy carries through the whole bass, all the way up to the lower mids. Mid-range is clean overall, but it's a touch recessed and not as forward as on the SonoFlow, for example. But we got way more energy in the higher frequencies, as the treble is full of crisp details and sparkle. The extension towards the top end is also great. The soundstage is not the widest or the most spacious there is, but the imaging is focused and precise. Everything and everyone has their well-defined spot in that space between your two ears. As for the Sony WH-CH720, it has probably the most prominent and powerful bass, with some great details and extension up top, but the mid-range lacks presence and clarity. The vocals and most instruments are a touch less forward and rich than what either the SonoFlow or the Space One can offer, but the imaging and separation are both excellent, and we also get a wider soundstage than on the other two. I would also pick the Sony as the loudest of them all, closely followed by the One More and the Soundcore. The Edifier is clearly the least powerful here when it comes to maximum output, but I found its sound to be well tuned overall. We get plenty kick in the bass, great presence in the mids, but the highs lack some clarity and top-end extension. The Sony has more bass, the Space One serves up more detail in the treble, and the SonoFlow has a fuller and richer mid-range, but Edifier can deliver a cohesive and well-balanced sound across the board. Nothing really sticks out, and while some of you may find it to be a good thing, others will say that it's somewhat boring. And while I personally like this so-called boring yet balanced sound, you have to keep in mind that Edifier is the only one without any EQ in the app. In contrast to that, both Sony and One More can do a lot as far as sound tweaking and customization is concerned, but it's Soundcore who gives you the most flexibility thanks to their comprehensive EQ settings and the Hear ID feature. And having said all that, it's time to come to some sort of a conclusion. It's needless to say that all four of these headphones are well worth their under $100 price tag. The Edifier W820NB is the most affordable option as of making this video, and that shows in some areas, as their feature set along with the app is kind of basic, and so is their design. But the 820 can still offer you a snug fit, a well-balanced sound, an excellent noise cancelling, and a low latency mode, so you get great value for your money. Between the Sony and the One More, I would say that I would pick the SonoFlow thanks to its sleek design, the generous cushioning on the ear cups, the hard carry case, the best overall build quality, the LDAC codec, and the longer battery life. But the better app, the easier to use button layout, the lightweight and comfortable design, and the more natural sounding transparency mode could easily tip the scales in favor of the Sony WH-CH720. What matters to you more depends on your personal preferences, and your rankings here can vary accordingly. But overall, I would say that the fresh design, the great build quality, the outstanding battery life, the top-of-the-class smartphone app, the exciting and easy-to-tweak sound signature, and the best phone call quality together make the Soundcore Space One the clear winner in this price bracket. But again, all four of these headphones can offer a great value for the money, and especially if you can find them at a discounted price, you should not think twice before buying any of them. And if you happen to make a purchase through any of the affiliate links in the description below, it would make it an absolute win-win, if you know what I mean. But by subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up, you can also support this channel, and as always, any help or feedback is appreciated. And speaking of feedback, feel free to leave your comments and questions below. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you all in the next one.